Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Sports Card Madness brought to you by DraftKings and their new app, Pick Six. Sign up with code Madness6 for up to $50 in free credits. This is LZ. I'm here with Nick. Today on the show, we have Tom Fallos, who is the card carver.
The card carver.
And we're
God,
gonna be we're
God,
gonna be playing up the card cover for this whole episode. So Tom is really a unique artist who creates one of a kind trading cards. They're really truly works of art. He's also a friend of the show. We had him on during the Nationals, so this is
Mhm.
his second time chatting with us. But I know many of the audience is familiar with sketch cards. They get those in packs. Tom's cards are not that.
No.
They are very, very different. So we plan to get into that. We're going to hear the differences. We're going to talk about the art market. We
Mhm.
want to hear about growing trends in the hobby, especially this trend around art and the collaboration with sports cards. So Tom, welcome to the show. Happy to have you on again, man.
yeah, I appreciate you having me on. It's good to see you guys. Thank you.
Yeah,
Same here.
absolutely.
Same here.
All right. So for the card kava, let's get into just tell the audience like what it is that you do.
I do one of one art cards.
Mhm.
Some things aren't one of one, but primarily that's what I do. That's what I'm known for. I've been doing more and more promotional type cards. For example, next week I'm in Atlanta for Culture Collision, and I designed three exclusive cards just for Culture Collision. And those cards, there's a print run of 100 of each. But when I'm doing stuff on my own as a card carver, it's all basically a one of one. I just did a drop with recently the 86 Kith, I called it, which is Jordan wearing a more modern brand, like streetwear brand called Kith. And that design, I take that design, I auction off a special variant, I call it, which is printed on canvas with a gold metal frame.
Oh,
And then
cool.
when the auction is done, then I make anywhere from 4 to 7 variations available. So it's the same image,
Mm.
but the only way for you to get the design on the canvas with the gold metal frame is via the auction. The other variants are going to be printed on each one would be printed on a different holographic type of material, so like a cracked ice or a refractor material, so that they're unique in that way.
So
Okay.
cool. When
So
I first
you
saw, oh, sorry, go
no,
ahead,
go ahead.
LZ.
No, go ahead, Nick. No, go,
Yeah,
go.
I'm just like, I just geek out on your stuff, man. So when I first like saw you, it's funny you say that. I don't think the audience realizes. I thought you were like an arts and crafts project. Like I was like, oh, this guy's like making cool stuff or whatever. But this stuff is actually slabbed, and it looks like ridiculous. It looks amazing.
Uh, I
Yeah.
appreciate it. Yeah, and I mean, it did kind of start as an arts and craft kind of thing. I mean, it is art, and art is part of that
Hmm.
term. And it started in COVID for me. I had been watching a group of artists that were already creating art cards. There was a small community of them, and I kind of just stumbled upon them somehow on Instagram, and I observed for a while. And then during COVID, my oldest son, River, bought like a $10 box of maybe 1990 Donruss from our LCS. And we ripped them all, and we had this pile of junk wax, just all these junk cards sitting on my table. And my wife during COVID had bought a Cricut and had all this holographic vinyl material sitting around. And I was like, well, like, what are we going to do with these cards? And I decided to give it a shot. And I'd been observing, and I felt like it was something I could do just as good, if not better, than a lot of the guys that I was watching. And it went
Awesome.
from just me trying to cut up cards at the dining room table to sitting here with you guys talking about art.
So that's really where your name comes from is the card carver, right? Like,
Yeah,
so for people who, because I think a lot of the audience probably knows sketch cards, or they know back in the day, even like I think of basketball, like the Fanimation NBA cards, like back in the day, like right, it was this printed card. Like a lot of your art is not that. It's actually like 3D
Mm.
layers upon layers of cart of stock of gold foil of a piece of Jordan's head, a Nike shoe that you found from another card, and you kind of mash it all together. So, describe to the audience like a little bit more on that detail. What exactly you do differently?
For sure. And that is a good point because I mean that is how I started was actually cutting up cards and which I
Mm,
still do now, but more recently, speaking on like trends in the hobby and in the
mm,
space, I've been doing more of the printing stuff, but I am still cutting
okay.
stuff up on the side. But I will take cards just to as an example, the 86 Jordan Fleer card, super famous card. I don't really know anybody that doesn't love that card. I personally do, and it's one of my favorite cards to work with for that reason. I've not cut up an authentic one yet, but taking a reprint of that, I will cut around Jordan, so that I'm just left with the border of the card and with his nameplate underneath it. And then I will cut the edges out of more cards, like anywhere depending on the thickness of the card. I'll just take a bunch of common cards. So I'm left with just the edge of the card and I'll glue all those together to create like a stack of them so that I can make basically a shadow box. And I
Mhm.
use that 86 Jordan Fleer. The border then goes on top so that I have that shadow box and I can create that 3D effect. And something that I early on, I realized that I needed to do something to be different because there's a lot of guys that were doing this, and there continued to be more and more artists coming into space wanting to make cards. And I had to do something different. And that's where I came up with what I started calling my pop art mashups. Everybody was taking sports cards and cutting them up, but I wasn't really seeing anybody combining sports with other things. And I personally love so many different things, whether it's comics, movies, just really anything pop culture. And my thought was, why not just start mashing up all these pop culture images, all these other things that I like, and put them into one card? And
That's
that
awesome.
that's where I really started to kind of gain notoriety, with those pop
Yep.
art mashups because nobody had seen anything like them. And to this day, I haven't seen anybody really even try to touch that style, and those that have like don't really compare.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the other person I've heard of doing this, the only two people I actually know are you and Piggy Banks. In terms of like different sort of releases or art cards, what's different between like you and what Piggy Banks does?
Um, I would say the biggest difference is that piggy banks, like right now, he drops up to like 30 different variations. So there's one design, and when you purchase his cards, you're going to get one of those 30 different variations. So each card is unique. He's dropping a lot more per drop.
Hmm.
And that's one difference where right now I'm trying to keep it like not really more than 10. I've never done, more than like 15 of any one card where there's 15 different variations. And I just recently kind of zeroed in on, okay, I'm going to do these canvas gold medal frame auctions and to keep it really as exclusive as I can. I want other people to get this design, but I'm not going to do more than like 4 or 5 variations. And then there will be
Right.
one artist proof and one sample also.
Okay.
And Piggy Banks doesn't cut cards up. I mean, when it boils down to it, the very bottom line of what separates me from Piggy Banks is that I cut cards.
Ah,
Piggy
okay.
Banks does not.
He's a card dropper, not a carver.
He's not a kava. Yeah, yeah. I think that's kind of what currently what makes me, you know, more unique than a lot of the other artists is that I do both. I do so many different things.
That's
I'm
awesome.
not just an artist. I'm not just a kava.
A
Um,
kava. Yeah.
I design things
We're
digital
gonna
and
annoy the
I
crap out of the audience on this
yeah,
one.
I
I try to hide my
know.
accent most of the time,
Not
but
today.
not for
You
this
Yeah,
got
episode,
you got
baby.
three New England
We
guys
are
on the
carving cards
no.
for a while
Yeah.
here.
yeah,
We're carving it
that's
up today.
awesome.
Um, Tom, can you talk to us about how you get inspiration for your designs? Like are you just
Yeah.
going throughout the day and like something pops in your head? I'd be really curious just to hear like the process that you go through.
Yeah.
My head is so messed up. I got so much, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm an 80s baby.
Hmm.
Yeah.
And I just love pop culture so much that there's no end to the ideas that I have. The number one thing that I would say is like everything is just very nostalgia driven. I don't really sit around and think of like, oh, let me sit here and think of a card that I can make. It's not like that.
Mm,
I'm constantly thinking of ideas and tucking them away in the file cabinets in my brain, and you never know which cabinet I'm going to end up digging into. things just come to me, and that's just kind of how it works. It's just like, my brain is like a melting pot of everything that I've consumed in my life, and I think that my work reflects that.
That's very cool. Now, all right, so you pull something out of the file cabinet in your brain, you sit down at your desk, and you go to town. How long does it take from idea to finished product? And I know it's going to vary.
Yeah.
I know it's going to, but on
Yeah,
average.
I mean, like 3 to 5 hours.
Okay.
I would say it used to be longer, especially the cards that I cut up. I've become more efficient, as you would expect or hope over time. I don't take quite as long to cut things as I used to. I've learned different things along the way, what works better and what doesn't. But you're looking at a minimum of like probably 3 to 5 hours. And it's hard to really even say because you can't really calculate the time. Say these pop culture mashup cards that I make, where I'm taking the 89 Griffey Jr. card that we all know so well, and I'm mixing in images from Indiana Jones and Garfield and the Goonies and He-Man and whatever else it may
I
be.
want that card. That sounds amazing.
Right? Yeah, well, that's why I do it, because it's lots of fun, right? Like, you can only see so many 89 Griffies, but have you seen the card carver version,
Right.
Nick, you know what you need Tom to create? You need a Biff Tanner Back to the Future card, because you reference Back to the Future
Too much.
Biff Tanner all the time. So Tom, I just dropped it in your head. Maybe
I have
like
a Back to the Future problem. I want something glow in the dark in there. That'd be pretty dope, All right.
I like that. I like it. I like it. But yeah, it's hard to even count. Like, how do you add up the time that I spend going to flea markets, going to card shops, and digging through bins, collecting to amass the amount of cards that I have? So many pop culture cards, just boxes just filled with miscellaneous stuff that I acquire at shows and at flea markets, and all that time plays into the end product.
Yeah. So what, you know what? The audience is probably like, let's see some of these things.
Yeah.
So
you really do need to see.
Yeah,
them. You do.
So
you did.
So Tom, we made sure off air that you had a few within arm's reach. For those on audio, honestly, just go to YouTube if you can. But if you're on YouTube, here we go. So Tom, if you can hold up a few, I know you got, and let's just describe each one to us.
I wish, I should.
I would recommend for the audience on YouTube, try to watch this on a TV. Or a big laptop, because you're gonna want to see these.
Yeah, they're really cool. Well, show us one at a time. That way we can process it.
Well, so I don't have any of the pop art mashup cards on me.
Okay.
Nick's gonna have to put one right here.
All right.
See later.
Sure. Why not? I'll flash it on the screen for everybody.
But recently I've started doing more of the printing cards. I've always loved tobacco cards. So doing a T206 of
that
Michael
looks
Jordan.
That's Jordan.
So for those on audio, I'm going to try here. It's a T206 with Jordan in sort of like an animated old school look to it, with the classic yellow-orange background and an old Chicago baseball uniform. Pretty amazing.
Then a modern White Sox hat on.
And a very shiny slab.
Yeah,
this was a really popular design, which I wasn't shocked, because as much as I loved it, I was really excited to see that everybody else agreed. This is long sold out. This is actually an artist proof that I still have.
That's awesome.
And then this is one I just auctioned this one off, doing the canvas
Kobe
auction
Bryant.
that I was talking about.
LZ, you can describe this one.
All right, so we have Kobe Bryant. It feels like it's a black and white photo of just his face and his shoulders, and then it's got like a cyclops eye in his forehead.
Yeah,
and it's it's a very intense picture of
kind of like
Kobe
a beat up looking card too. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, this one is aged. So I did age this one.
Oh, that's
to give it
wait a
that
minute.
look.
There's like you aged it. Is there like an aging process that you put it through?
Yes.
All right. What does that mean?
Well, I can't give away the recipe.
Okay. All right.
LZ, he gets into a DeLorean and he goes forward 100 years. And then he comes back with it, and then we're good, right?
Yeah.
Another Back to the
Future.
Future.
That's cool. That's cool.
I sneak it into Biff's pocket before the manure gets dumped on him.
It's like
it gets zapped by the flux capacitor a few times.
Yeah.
And then it comes back.
But the art space has been going crazy. People like the cut up stuff still. They've really been liking these auctions. I've done three of these auctions recently, and they've all sold for a minimum of $2,000.
Oh,
Wow.
okay.
This Kobe Bryant piece, which I titled Mamba Vision, the
Makes sense.
canvas
Yeah.
gold medal frame auction did 2,300 this weekend.
I love that label too.
Love
It
that.
looks so sick. Like it's a
Where?
good label.
Yeah.
Again, these are the
Yeah, they're in a
Zion Mag Pro
slab.
cases. I really like the Zion Mag Pros. In my opinion, they're the best kind of do-it-yourself slab that's out
Mm,
there. They're
okay.
just very, very crystal clear.
Interesting.
Huh. Um, so you're creating, so it's almost like you have a custom label. Actually, can you go back to the label? Can we just see it a bit
Yeah,
more? Like
yeah, for sure.
I'm picturing a slab like a PSA or Beckett and the label itself. Like what is on there for the audience as well? All right, so we have authentic, we have your logo. Um, okay, one of one.
Yeah, OG,
Yeah, nice.
made in
Yeah.
USA 101.
Oh, you got that
Yep.
little Sunday comic thing on the bottom right there. The
Yeah,
what's
it's
that little
it's Rich, it's Richie
there,
Rich.
Richie Rich. That's
Yeah,
awesome. This is really
yeah.
cool. The slab
Yeah.
looks wicked nice.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. I appreciate it. And
Yeah.
I take a great deal of pride in every part of the
Do you have a
execution.
partnership with that slab company?
With Zion, yeah, yeah,
Okay.
I do
All right.
for sure.
All right.
Yep. Me and
We
Z
have another good slab company for you if that we could
Gotcha.
bring up.
Yeah.
Yeah, all touch is pretty
Zion.
Um
awesome. But
yeah.
yeah.
Um all right. So I mentioned to the audience and you when I opened that we talked at the National.
Yeah.
So we're talking, I don't know, shoot, what is that, like 8 months ago, right? So I'm curious if you could compare yourself and what you're creating to a year ago and now modern day today, what have you learned as an artist and what have you learned in trying to build this business that you're trying to build around these cards in the past year?
Um, think that I don't know. What have I learned in this past year? What have I
Yeah.
learned is
Like
kind of
have you gotten better in the past year,
Right.
at certain things or
Mm.
yeah. So man, that's kind of a tough question. A lot of the things that I've learned have been learned like over the years. I've been doing this like 4 or 5 years, and there's certain things, that become more and more apparent.
Yeah.
And but maybe the most important being to just stay true to myself, not to chase trends. Um, don't worry about thinking too hard. Like you asked me earlier, where does the inspiration, where do the ideas come from? I don't try to force things like, oh, what is going to sell? That's not
Mm.
going through my mind. Try to, like I said, just stay true to myself and create what I love
Yeah.
and just hope that everybody else is going to like it. And I think that that's kind of been one of my strongest suits up to this point and will continue to be, by just being real.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I've seen the space grow a lot in the past year. Even just my own market, has grown so much since I saw you in July. The entire space as a whole, there's a whole new breed of collector that has found our market. And I have to give credit too. I see a lot of guys, you're always, as you guys know, as your podcast has grown and your following has grown, so I'm sure so has the hate that you see, the comments that aren't so endearing, right?
Yeah.
That's just the nature of things. But I will give credit where it's due, where a lot of other people won't. And Piggy Banks, what he did for the space, you almost can't thank him enough because he managed to come into the space and found these collectors that aren't necessarily card collectors. These guys, most of them aren't even part of the hobby, as we call it. These are true art collectors. And it's really, really changed the space a lot. Where you used to see guys struggle to sell a card for $50 and now I'm running auctions and they're selling for two K plus every time.
Wow.
So I mean, it's been great to see that see so many people that actually truly love what I'm creating and the desire for it, the appetite for it. It's been really special to see that happen and to see it grow from point A to point B, you know?
That's really awesome. So are there any I've seen you. I've watched your Instagram for a while, probably like a year, maybe a year and a half since I found out these things existed. And I know you do, you're into music. We're all into music, right? Let's be honest. But like
Yeah.
you love certain artists and everything. And I've seen you do some collabs. So have you had mashups like with your art or your cards that have involved music at all? Or, are there any others that you're thinking about?
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely some things that are on the horizon. In the past year, I became vice president of Rapper Cards, which, um, that
Nice.
right there opens me up to a whole world. We have over 100 different rappers that are signed.
That's
I
awesome.
designed, yeah, this past year I designed officially licensed trading cards of Conway the Machine, Cool G Rap. Um, and then, I mean, even before the rapper card thing, like you said, I've always been into music.
Yeah.
I used to rap myself. I had a live hip hop band. We were a
Oh,
hip hop
nice.
cover band. The idea of the band was, you'd go to the bar or the club instead of a DJ spinning all your favorite dance and party songs. It was me with a whole band behind me and my buddy as my backup vocalist. We do two 1.5 hour sets playing Snoop Dogg, Dr. Dre, and Kanye, what you name
Oh
it. It
man,
was it
Sounds
was
like
a
a
ton
good
of
no,
fun.
that's
time.
yeah.
Yeah, it was. It was a great time. We did like 60, I remember it was 60 to 80 shows in two years or something like that. We
Wow.
we we crushed it. And I did all
Mm,
the merch design, I did all the
mm.
booking, and I designed all the flyers. So like what you see as the card carver is really the result of everything that I've done in my life in so many different ways. And it's why I've succeeded. Um,
Yeah,
yeah.
that's real. I mean, kudos to you
But
for the rapper cards. That's great. I mean, that's a
thank you.
that's a big change since the last time we talked. I don't think you had that position last time we talked, right? So
Um,
that's this year.
yeah,
I think you were a little
yeah,
involved. I think you introduced me to rapper cards when we were at the
yeah.
national. Yeah.
Yeah, it's
Um,
definitely a newer thing. But yeah, I definitely have
yeah.
more plans to do more stuff
Mm,
musically. I have my own connections to music. The first national that I went to, I saw that eBay was doing a party with like Card Talk Pod, and they had an artist named Fresco Trey there. So I figured I'm going to Atlantic City. I'm going to my first national. I'm looking at all the different things, and this is kind of just like a window into how I think and operate.
yeah.
If I'm going somewhere like that, I'm going to look into everything that's going on and see where the opportunities are. I saw that this artist that I'm familiar with named Fresco Trey is performing. So I made a few Fresco Trey tobacco cards. I reached out to his people through Instagram, got a hold of his manager, and I said, hey, I'm going to be there. I'd love to present these custom cards to you as a gift if we could
Mm,
possibly meet up. And they were into it. And me and my son River got to meet Fresco Trey, and we went into like the backstage area, met with him, did the photo op. He signed a couple of them for me, like for my
sweet.
collection, and I gifted one to
Mm,
him. So I've done a few things like that.
okay.
My buddy is the VIP manager at Big Night Live in Boston at TD Garden,
Okay. There you
and
go.
he's good friends with a guy named Mike, who's like a big uh, musician now, a
Hmm.
rapper slash singer. And I went down there for a show. I did the same thing. I made some tobacco cards of him and of his artist that's on his label. I got to meet them, have them sign some. I gift the artist some. I have them sign a few for me.
Beautiful.
And that's kind of become something that I do.
Yeah. All
Awesome.
right, so we know music definitely influenced you. I can see in the background that you have some cool memorabilia, and I'm looking like directly over your shoulder. There is an old school Red Sox jersey in a
Yeah.
beautiful case. So you got to
Looks
tell
like,
us the
yeah.
story. What's going on with that jersey?
This is a 1957
Wow.
game worn road flannel of Billy Klaus, who was my great uncle.
That's
What?
Uh,
awesome.
yeah, yeah.
Well, it's good
Um,
then,
Okay.
right? You don't need to photo match it or
No,
anything like
well,
no.
that.
well, so I was lucky enough to acquire this jersey. I've been hunting for years for one of his game used
Oh,
bats. And
Oh,
along the way, I'm in all these different groups on Facebook and
Hmm.
wherever I can, just trying to find, because I'll collect anything to do with his career. It started out with cards, and as I grew up and grew as a collector, it turned into collecting autographed baseballs, team sign balls, bats, game programs, tickets, photographs. Before I knew the term Type One, I was collecting Type One photographs. So to me, they were just cool photos of my Uncle Bill and a part of his, not just his history, but baseball history, period.
So cool.
So I get a message from a guy and he says, "Hey, I don't have your uncle's bat, but I have his jersey." And I was like,
Ooh.
"Excuse me?" You have what? And it turned out that this guy's uncle in Pennsylvania runs an estate sale business. Does
Okay.
like estate auctions and stuff. And through those auctions, they at one point he had acquired this jersey. And it took like at least a month for me to work out the deal, because I this was the at the time was the biggest um, amount of money that I had ever spent on any type of memorabilia. Didn't really have any knowledge of jerseys, so through this transaction, I learned a lot about game used jerseys, things to look
Nice.
for.
Yeah.
Like whether or not, especially with these old jerseys, they used to repurpose them at the end of the season. They might take, even like Ted Williams jerseys, whoever it was, big stars, they would take the jerseys and take the numbers off and send them down to the minor league teams, and they would put new numbers on them,
Ooh,
for
I
them to
didn't know
use down
that.
in the minors. Yep,
Wow.
Neither
yeah,
did I. Neither did
that
I.
yeah,
Huh.
that was really common.
Yeah.
Um, and what's really wild with this jersey is that it says 57. Oh, I don't have it right here. Here we go. So 57 tops and his 58 tops.
You have the card.
Oh, nice.
He's
Oh,
wearing his road jersey on his 57 and his 58 card. So the
yeah.
odds that this jersey is the same card that is on one of those tops
Very
cards
cool.
is very, very high.
Yeah.
That's awesome, man. That's really, really cool.
So the guy didn't give you a family discount to get your uncle's jersey. Is
He
that what you're
better
saying? Is
he
that what you're
better have.
telling me? Is that
He
what you're
did not.
telling us?
He did not.
Oh,
Oh, what a punk.
But
yeah.
yeah, yeah,
Let's go
Oh,
carve him
wow.
up. Carve him up.
but yeah, so like this is one of my favorite items. I've got so many different
What's
things in the
that?
collection. This
That's
is a Type One photo with
Okay.
the
Oh, I
you
see it
see
now. Yep.
kind of hard to see the deckled edge on it, the
mhm,
age
Yep.
of it.
Hmm.
that's
This was
awesome.
gifted to me by an author named Dick Trust, who lives in Massachusetts. He grew up in the Boston area, and he wrote a book about Ted Williams. I sent him an email and I said, I came, through my research, I came across your book. I know you mentioned Billy Klaus, who is my great uncle, in the book. Do you happen to have any stories or photos or anything of him that
Yeah.
you kind of came across? And he said, well, I have this photograph. And he actually took this photograph when he was a boy. He would go to Fenway Park and he would watch the Red Sox practice. And so he took this photograph as like a young teenager, and then had it, you know, printed, developed, and then he had my Uncle Bill sign it. And he actually wound up just gifting this to me. And
Oh, that's
Wow.
awesome.
Yeah, that's
I
actually so that's a
That's awesome.
signed type one photo
All right.
of your
yeah,
great
So
uncle.
there is
Type
some
One.
good in
Yep.
the world. Is
Yeah.
that what you're
Yeah.
telling me? There
Not at
Yeah.
is.
estate sales.
Yeah.
Right.
No.
With
Yeah.
others. Oh man. So Tom, we're starting off the new year fresh. It's 2025.
Yep.
It seems like you want to take over the world and do all kinds of cool things. Like what's I don't know, what are the top like one or two things you want to accomplish this year as the card carver?
I would love to get some type of collaboration done with Tops, whatever that might look like. I don't know if that's the top goal, but that's right up there. And beyond that, I don't really have any specific company in mind or anything, but I have aspirations to do more outside of the card world because I have so many different interests like we've been talking about. So working with a sneaker company, especially like, for example, a New England based company like New Balance,
Yep.
Sure.
who just signed a boy from Maine named Cooper Flag. Why not have a trading
Oh
card
boy.
that comes with his signature shoe?
Hmm.
Or
Right?
that type of stuff. And clothing, I love clothing. I've always been into hip hop. I've always been into that streetwear fashion. So collaborating with clothing companies and dropping hoodies and different things, maybe a hoodie where the tag is actually like a card, a collectible sticker tag or something. there's really no limit to what can be done with these cards, and I feel like cards in particular can be used as a promotional tool for so many different types of products and
Yeah.
brands. Um, that's kind of where my head is at,
Mhm.
beyond just continuing to make art and try to make the best art that I can make and do all these cool drops and stuff. That's where my aspirations really lie.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Sounds
Well,
good.
you're a very good hustler. You're a very good networker too. When I asked you the question around kind of what have you learned in the past year, like I was going to call out networking. I think you're great at it. Just the fact, I mean, you opened up saying that, for Culture Collision, you're doing 100 cards for them. I mean, that alone, took some networking. So congrats on that, man.
Thank you.
That's
Yeah, I
awesome.
mean
Yeah.
it's this is my third culture collision in a row, and
Mm.
each one of them I do three designs. We do three different trading cards, and they also use the designs for three different badges. There's a VIP badge, a vendor badge, and I forget what the other badge is, but
Mm.
so then the badges themselves, they also do one of the badges is like this real nice high-end holographic material. So the badges themselves become collectible.
Collectibles.
Yeah, I even have
Cool.
I have vendors and people come up to my booth, asking me to sign them, which is a lot of fun.
Oh, that's so
Uh,
cool. That's very
yeah,
cool.
yeah.
Um,
Networking
yeah,
is one of my strong points,
for sure.
and that comes
Hmm.
ties back to just how I said that what you're seeing here now that is the card carver is a culmination of everything that I've done in my lifetime. Which I mentioned my good friend Jeff London. He's the VIP manager at Big Night Live in Boston. When around 2000, when I was like 20, I lived in Boston with him when he first started out in the nightclubs, and we worked together. Like I was a VIP host. My nickname was Party Boy. And we did nights at, like,
Yes.
if you
Love it.
guys remember, like,
Party boy.
you remember Axis on Lansdowne. I don't know if you
Yeah.
remember that.
I
Yeah,
do.
Yeah.
I
yep.
do.
So like we did nights at Axis and Avalon and all these other different
Oh, I
clubs
know
down there.
Avalon very well.
Yeah.
Hmm.
I've seen a lot of bands at
Um,
Avalon,
you
actually.
know, so my ability to network comes from years of experience from, promoting nightclubs, hitting the streets, bombing subways with flyers and stickers, sneaking into the dorms at Northeastern and sliding flyers under every dorm door in the dorms, Um, you do what you have to do to get the word out. And I apply all these different things that I've learned through life to what I'm doing now. And yeah, I've told people before, like, it feels great because finally all these different things I've done and that I've tried, I did the band, I did all the promotion
Hmm.
for the band, the booking, the creating the flyers. I've done merch for friends and their companies and their bands and stuff. But now you're seeing all of it come together and it's working in this one thing.
Very cool. Very cool. All right. Well, Tom, this is great. I think hopefully the audience. I know I've learned more about what you do, and it's very interesting. Even some lessons around hustle and grind and networking that hopefully the audience can take away from you as well. As we end the show, how can people reach out to you? How can people bid, get involved in some of these auctions you were talking about as well? Um, just what do you want to tell the
You take
audience?
commissions too, right, Tom?
I do.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Okay.
do take
All right. So
If
commissions.
you
talk
want
about
your
that
own
as
card, you can hit him up for that.
hmm
Yeah, for sure. Hit me up
Yep.
soon because I'm tightening those up as we start to move into the year. My time is becoming
You
more
got a
and
couple
more
of ours that
limited.
you're working on, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, you can find me at the Card Carver across all social media platforms. I'm most active on Instagram.
Hmm.
If you want to reach out there, I also have a website. It's thecardcarver.com. You can contact me through there. But Instagram is really the best place to get a hold of me. As of right now, I mean, I do 90% or more of my business right through Instagram. And the auctions that I've been running, I do them on Instagram. The best thing to do really is
Cool.
to hit that alert button on
No. Okay.
Instagram so that you know when I drop. These auctions are going to be every other week moving forward the rest of the year. I kind of set my mind just recently on that format. So
Okay.
bi-weekly I'll be dropping these auctions. And the way the auctions work is, place your highest bid in the comments. The highest bid in the comments at whatever time I set, which is usually 10 p.m. Eastern on Sunday. Whoever has the highest bid in the comments is the winner. And then I will send a direct link via DM to the rest of the bidders saying, thank you for bidding. I really appreciate it. If you'd like to grab one of the variants, here's the direct link to purchase it. And that's how I'm going to be operating those.
Yeah.
Cool.
And aside
All
from
right.
that, come and see me. I'm trying to get to as many shows as I can with the time that I have. I'm starting off pretty hot here in the beginning of the year. I'll be at Culture Collision in Atlanta next week, and then in
Yeah.
February I'm at the Vegas Card Show, and I'll be at the National in Chicago all week long. Also, I'm looking forward to seeing you guys there.
Nice.
Yeah, yeah. Card
Absolutely.
Carve is coming to our party.
That's right.
The
Kava.
Madness Party.
Wait a minute. Party Boy is coming to our
Yeah.
party.
Party boy is
will
he's
be
one of the
there.
100 people, one of the
Yes.
100 people that will be at the Sports Card Madness Party the first
Yes.
night.
Mhm.
Gonna be awesome.
Maybe,
It's gonna be a good time.
maybe, you know what? Let's just say it here. There will be a 1 of 1 sports card madness card at that party. I don't know how
Ooh.
it will be acquired, but Carver will come with a
Don't give that to
special
anybody else, so
1-of-1.
they're gonna hold it ransom, man.
Love that.
Yeah, I
That's a
will.
great
I will-
idea.
I will bring a special 1-of-1 to that party.
Oh man,
Awesome.
party's gonna be fun.
Awesome.
All right,
All right, Tom. Appreciate it.
cool.
Yeah,
Thanks.
I appreciate
Thanks.
you guys. Thanks for having me on. Take care.
Bye, everybody.